morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome everyone here to what is hopefully the first of many Tonix groundbreaking events. And this is a very exciting day. My name is Bill Reardon. I'm the Director of Facilities and Engineering, and I was fortunate enough to join Tonix and be asked to lead this very exciting project. While it may be a little bit cliche, as though all these ceremonies have those statements, this is truly a milestone date for Tonix. Tonix, as many of you know, has been a virtual company working to outsourcing, and this marks the first entry into the bricks and mortar, the real world, and owning our own facility. As we'll hear from Dr. Letterman in a few minutes, this facility is going to allow Tonix to expand and accelerate their research, development, and analytical capabilities for our viral vaccine products. So before we begin today, a few quick logistics. First, I've been told three times to remind everybody, make sure you get your name tags if you didn't, so we all know who you are when you're here. Bathrooms, if anybody needs them, right over here. We have some water at the back table if anybody would like that. And after we hear from our guest speakers, we're going to have our traditional photo opportunities over there. And everybody is welcome after the formal photos to get your picture taken on a shovel. I know a lot of the team members and corporate members would like to do that, so that would be great. And last, again, don't forget, we have some very nice mementos. Make sure you pick them up on your way out. Before we get going, one thing I have to do is introduce and thank our planning team, because without them, this wouldn't have happened if they relied on me. So we have Liz Isherwood. I think everybody on the South Coast, as I've learned, knows Liz. Liz knows everybody. Okay. We have Noelle Taroni, who is also our Director of HR. She's already... And this is what a lot of people want to hear here. She's already onboarded a number of local resources, and she will be managing all the staffing of this facility, and we hope to fill it with predominantly local regional resources. So that is her primary objective. And then we have our project coordinator, also a local, Clara Pingen. Thank you very much for helping us put this together. Falling down here. All right, so introductions for our guests today. First, we have New Bedford Mayor Jon Mitchell. We have our state rep, Chris Markey. We have Mike Connelly, the Secretary of Housing and Economic Development. And Congressman William Keating, representing the 9th District of Massachusetts. We also like to thank our Dartmouth town officials in attendance. We have Christine O'Grady and Cody Haddad. And first and foremost, our CEO, who is the founder of the company and leading this effort, Dr. Seth Letterman, who will be speaking shortly. We have our CFO, Bradley Sanger, and our COO, Jessica Morris. And unfortunately, the person we'd like to see here, Siobhan Fogarty, our VP of Supply Chain, who is ultimately responsible for this facility. Unfortunately, due to travel restrictions, she is unable to join us. She's overseas, but it would be great to have her here for this. And of course, a project like this, we can't do it by ourselves. So I can't forget to mention our partners on this job. We have a construction management firm here today, the Cardinal Group, IPS Engineering, Mainstay Civil and Structural Engineers, and local resources that many of you are familiar with, ESI Mechanical Engineers and Contractors, who are going to be doing a bolus of the work here. And obviously, the local trades, we've already have several local companies working for us on this job, and construction is just started and underway. So without them, we couldn't put together a project of this nature. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Dr. Seth Letterman, our CEO.
Thank you, Bill, very much for that introduction. Thank you all for coming. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Seth Letterman, President and CEO of Tonix Pharmaceuticals. Thank you for joining us here today to see the groundbreaking of this exciting and important project, the creation of Tonix's Advanced Development Center for Vaccines. In this new facility, we will work to make vital contributions to human health, safety, and security of people throughout our country and around the world. I have a few more words to say about the project, but first I want to thank the government leaders who have joined us here today. These are the officials who have worked at the federal, state, and town levels to support the preparedness programs and create the business environment. Some are assisting with the project's planning and implementation. Congressman Bill Keating, thank you for being here, and thanks for your support of the federal programs that have enabled the response to the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as other future public health challenges, which we hope to help address. I also know that as a member of the Armed Services Committee, you oversee the central role of the United States military in developing vaccines and countermeasures against biological agents, an effort we plan to join. Secretary Mike Connelly, thank you for being here. Thank you for overseeing the housing and economic development for the Baker administration in Massachusetts. I want to recognize your leadership and that of Governor Baker for creating the environment that has made Massachusetts the site of a biotech boom that is the envy of every other state. Mayor Mitchell, thank you for being here. I want to thank you for your leadership of the city, particularly during the challenges of the pandemic. I also want to thank you and the City of New Bedford providing services to us in the New Bedford Business Park. I also want to thank Chris Markey, the state representative who represents us in the business park. Okay. While we're in the New Bedford Business Park, this building is physically part of the town of Dartmouth. And we have the Dartmouth Planning Director, Christine O'Grady, and the Dartmouth Interim Economic Development Director, Cody Haddad. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your support. I also want to acknowledge the presence of my friend and State Representative Paul Schmid, who represents Westport and Fall River. The facility will enable Tonix to vertically integrate more of our development activities under a single roof with a well-trained and capable team for the development of our vaccines. This capability will transform our efforts across the research and development spectrum in support of a vital national initiative, providing a robust domestic capability to develop and produce countermeasures to defeat COVID-19 and any future threats that may emerge. The federal government is appropriately focused on addressing both immediate and long-term public health preparedness needs. At Tonix, we strive to play a role in addressing them. When it comes to biotech, the center of the universe is Boston. But Boston is spreading out, and the workforce that feeds Boston is spreading out also. We are coming to New Bedford and Dartmouth to meet these amazing scientists and technicians where they live. And I must say, it's early, but we are having great success in recruiting top talent to New Bedford, some of whom are coming from top-tier VC-backed firms in Boston, Kendall Square, and the rest of it. So our pitch so far, some of them are here, is working extremely well, and we're optimistic for the future. The key part of Massachusetts biotech preeminence, in my opinion, is the skilled, trained, and experienced workforce. At full capacity, we expect the facility to employ 70 people, almost all in high-skilled, high-tech jobs. Some of them are here today. Others will likely come from UMass Dartmouth, Bristol Community College, and from the institutions of nearby Worcester, or from any of the impressive colleges and universities in Boston or other parts of the region that educate and train professionals who make this biotech revolution sustainable. We are already enjoying 2 fruitful collaborations with Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston and another with Mass Biologics in Mattapan. We're in conversations with Mass Development. We're excited to join the Biotech Miracle, and with the Advanced Development Center here in Dartmouth, in the New Bedford Business Park. Much of the work we planned here is to support the development of our COVID-19 vaccine, TNX 1800. There's a particular need for U.S. domestic capability to develop and manufacture live virus vaccines. Live virus vaccines are the most established and most effective type of vaccine ever developed. They have many potential advantages, such as durable protection, meaning years or decade, and the ability to block forward transmission. That means to stop the spread of infection. Beyond the COVID pandemic, we expect COVID to be endemic. That means it's going to be bouncing around humanity, possibly for the rest of time. Beyond COVID, we must prepare for future pandemics. We believe the ADC, Advanced Development Center, here in New Bedford Business Park, can be an important part of that effort and that capability. To meet these health challenges requires an effective public-private partnership, a collaboration between government agencies and legislatures that set the requirements and provide the resources for some of these efforts, and the companies like Tonix, which then invent and supply the essential vaccines and therapies. We look forward to joining this partnership and working to make it a success. Thank you all for coming to celebrate this groundbreaking with us, and I now turn it back to Bill Reardon to introduce Mayor Mitchell.
One first, if that's okay?
What?
We had Cardinal Group with, and then the mayor.
Okay.
That's okay. Thank you. All righty. So I'd like to take a minute to introduce our design and construction partners, IPS Engineering and the Cardinal Group construction management firm. For those of you who haven't heard of them, this is the company that was instrumental in the success of the Moderna projects last year. Without that successful project, many of us probably wouldn't be sitting here the way we are today. So this is a team of individuals and companies that understand the requirements of projects like this, the sense of urgency, and how important projects like these are. So Bill Held from the Cardinal Group.
Okay, first I'd like to thank Bill Reardon for putting me talking between this impressive list of dignitaries and the founder and CEO of Tonix Pharmaceuticals.
You're welcome.
Well, I'll deal with that later. On behalf of the Cardinal Group, the construction manager and builder, IPS, my parent company, and the engineer on this project, Mainstay, the civil and structural engineer, and ESI, our design build mechanical partner, we're really truly honored to be part of this exciting project and embrace the trust that you've offered us in order to deliver the ADC facility. I first met Bill Reardon actually 15 years ago on a project that was a first of its kind, delivering the first single-use facility in the United States and in New England. And that was along an accelerated timeline, and I believe it was finished in about 2 years. So the bar is high. It continues to be raised. The timelines get exponentially shorter, and our team is really embracing the challenge to deliver this exciting project. But we don't really have the tools. We're the construction manager and engineer of record, that it's consulting and design professionals, and so what we're going to do is rely on the local labor, the local contractors, and the vendors. We'll have agreements with excess of probably 18 to 20 local subcontractors and equipment vendors and suppliers. And it will really be those women and men that will make this project successful. They're not on board yet. We're onboarding them this week and next week and in the months to come. And we're really excited to be part of this community to deliver this type of project. And without them, unfortunately, they don't have a voice here today. But they're the grassroots, and they're really what make everything possible and for us to be successful. Like I said, the bar continues to rise. This past year, Cardinal and IPS spent the better part of the last 14 months delivering multiple Operation Warp Speed projects. And with that experience and mindset, we will bring that delivery method here to make this project for Tonix Pharmaceuticals a success. Our focus will obviously be to deliver a high-quality CGMP-compliant facility, But our priority, first and foremost, every day, is to work safely, and I can't express that enough. We will employ many women and men on this job site, and we need to make sure that we work safely so that they're able to go home to their family and loved ones at the end of every shift. And I say every shift because we will likely be working round the clock in a very challenging, schedule-driven project, which quite honestly we embrace. To wrap it up, we look forward to this exciting project. We look forward to collaborating with Tonix Pharmaceuticals, all of the stakeholders here today and those that will be brought onto the team shortly. And at the end of the day, forging a long and lasting, trusting relationship with Tonix and all the stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. So next we have the New Bedford Mayor, because we were not going to admit him, even though we had things out of order here. My apologies. But we have Jon Mitchell.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning, everyone. These days it just feels like every outdoor event, or even indoor events, in-person events, are reunions of sorts. I mean, you look around and say, I haven't seen you since, I don't know, March of 2020. But it's great to see everyone, and this is a really terrific occasion for a number of reasons that I'll get into in a moment. But I did want to acknowledge a few folks. So I wanted to acknowledge a couple of city councilors who are here. Ian Abreu, Scott Lima, I think, was here a moment ago. Rick Kidder, the Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce, is here as well. And the man who runs the business park, the Executive Director of the Economic Development Council, Derek Santos, is here as well. Derek fully appreciates the momentousness, the import of this occasion, and it's really a tribute to the industrial foundations and the EDC's work that investments like this can happen. I want to thank Congressman Keating as well as Secretary Connelly for all of their support on economic development efforts here in Greater New Bedford. And I want to congratulate Seth. This is really a mark of singular entrepreneurship. I mean, you've really done something special. I mean, starting off as an academic and making a transition, a professional transition that a lot of folks aspire to, but not everybody can pull off. Being a leading researcher to somebody who actually is running an operating company that is succeeding and going public and creating jobs and creating opportunity for folks, and that is no mean feat. We really admire what you've been able to do over the last decade in making that transition. It is great to meet you as well, and it's our good fortune that you've invested here. I'll just offer a few observations, and that'll sort of add up to a punchline, which is this is a really big deal. Let me count the ways. So, first of all, 70 high-paying jobs, up to 70 high-paying jobs here in southeastern Massachusetts is a big deal, right? To have researchers who are making, significant salaries and contributing to the regional economy is, just to say it, a really good deal. It generates tax revenue. Fortunately to the town of Dartmouth, not to the city of New Bedford. No minor matter, but good for Dartmouth. That's okay. We're all one big happy family. But there are a few other things. So one thing that strikes me, especially as I listen to your summary, Seth, is that it's good for our brand to have a company like yours not just doing cutting edge things, but doing things that are momentous, right? So the stuff that you got, here we are trying to exit a pandemic altogether, a 100-year plague, as it were, and you guys are in the thick of this, the thick of figuring it out, and figuring out not only how do we emerge permanently from this plague, but knowing that that similar threats, history tells us, are on the horizon at some point, to prepare us for that, so that we don't have to go through we collectively, American society, the world doesn't have to go through it again. And then you mentioned the national security dimension of your work, which is hugely important. And people think that smallpox was completely eradicated. That's sort of the headline, but it isn't really, right? So there are actors out there who, if they had access to things like smallpox, might well use them to advance political goals, right? We need to be prepared for that. That's something that you're thinking. We prefer not to be thinking about that. You are, and you're taking care of us in that way. And that's a big deal. And the fact that it's going on, will be going on here in the New Bedford area is really significant for us. The other thing I'll just say, two more quick things. There is this there has been in economic development circles this presumption over several decades as New Bedford's manufacturing base declined that it's really hard to attract knowledge-based businesses that require employees with high skill levels to come here because you look at the scoreboard and it says we have a relatively low rate of educational attainment here, and the reality of that is that we do by Northeastern standards at least, and that's really a function of a lot of folks leaving, a lot of talent leaving our area, students who graduate from our high schools and then leave and don't come back, right? That's been a problem. It's a problem for a lot of places in the formerly industrial Northeast and the Midwest. Like how do you start to attract companies that pay higher wages and have higher skilled folks? This kind of throws to lie that presumption that you can actually pull this off here in Greater New Bedford. You can actually build a very successful company that employs lots of very skilled folks and do it right here. And it is really encouraging to hear, as you noted in your remarks, that people want to come here, and that's great. The last thing I'll just offer up is just, again, these are sort of, pardon my random morning thoughts here, but I think it's really important to note, the trends that you mentioned, that we're starting to see in the pandemic, right? So companies looking for other places to be, right? And for many years, what we've tried to do is, as a city that is not part of a major metro, we try to answer the question, well, what will bring capital here? What will attract more talent here? And so part of the answer is, of course, leveraging the things that we do well, right? It's to have like a great run business park like this. It's to have a fabulous port that is growing all the time and a great art scene and all these things. We try to accentuate all of that, but part of it also is just making Greater New Bedford a really nice place to live, right? So that's why we try to make things look just so. We improve public safety, we improve the city's bond rating, we improve the graduation rate in our schools. So all these things add up to a higher quality of life. And what the pandemic has done, in effect, is really sort of to get people to focus on these attributes. We've long felt that in New Bedford, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can have the urbanity that people like, but without things like big city levels of gun violence, with a low cost of living, without traffic, right? So now that everyone's taken a look around to see where to invest, we can raise our hands and say, hey, we've got something good here, and you guys have validated it by putting your money where your mouths are. And so that's to my mind, as it really validates our strategy over the last decade or so. And I have been in office that long, but it is meaningful, and this will allow us, Seth, to attract more investment and sort of defy sort of the overall trends in America in the last 20 years of aggregation and major metros. So it's a big day. It's a really historic moment in that, and a pivot point in that sense. And we're so glad that you chose us. So thank you, Seth.
All right, thank you. And next we have Secretary Mike Connelly.
Bill, thank you so much, and Dr. Letterman, great to be here with you and your colleagues from Tonix. Great for me to be here with so many of my colleagues in government, local, state, and federal. the mayor, the state reps, the congressmen. Just wonderful to be here with all of you today. It's a great day. It's a great day for this company. It's a great day for the region. And it's a great day for the state. And as prior speakers have mentioned, we are the global leader in life sciences. We take that really seriously here in the Commonwealth. And we do approach this work very much as a team sport with government. It's why I think so many of us are here today to celebrate this. In our administration, there's a few things we really want to get done in the life sciences. One is to make sure we're really, at all times, sort of pushing the science, advancing the R&D, making sure we stay on the cutting edge. The second is to make sure life sciences is a truly statewide opportunity. And yes, the industry was born in Cambridge, and Boston are important, but making sure we have great opportunities in the life sciences all across the Commonwealth, in every region, in R&D and manufacturing is critically important. And the third that goes along with that is making sure we have the largest, strongest, most diverse workforce we can have. So that this is truly an opportunity for all of our citizens everywhere. What's wonderful about today is that today's facility that we celebrate really helps advance all those objectives. We'll stay on the cutting edge. We'll have a growing cluster here in the New Bedford area, and we will in turn have a great workforce. And I want folks to know that we are so committed to advancing all those objectives in our administration. For workforce, for example, I want to highlight the fact that we have now had 50 students from New Bedford High School that have been part of our Mass Life Sciences Center High School internship program. We've invested about $600,000 in New Bedford schools, including helping to create a biotech lab at New Bedford High School. So this is, as the mayor said, this is really a great example of what's possible here in this region and in so many others across Massachusetts. So it is an historic day, and it's wonderful to be here. I guess the last thing I'd say is I was at an event similar to this last week, another opening of a biotech facility. And by the way, it's great to be back on the road again and see real progress and see people thinking about the future and making investments. And one of the speakers had this great phrase. He said, "The patients are waiting." And I thought about that, and I think in my line of work as secretary, we spent a lot of time talking about the economy and jobs and industry clusters and regional strengths and the sort of hard economics of what life sciences is. But ultimately, it's an impact on people. And certainly we saw that during the COVID-19 pandemic, the impact that Massachusetts had on so many people across the globe and across our country. All the work done here on testing and vaccines and therapeutics. You know, we do a great job here in the Commonwealth of working together to advance our common aspirations. We do want to continue to be the global leader in life sciences. We do want to have regional strength and diversity across the state. We do want to have the most promising workforce opportunities. At the end of the day, in doing so, we have an impact on the world. And that's always been one of our core aspirations here in Massachusetts, to have that kind of an impact. And it's wonderful to see that Tonix is now part of that fabric and will help us advance that strategy and advance that impact on humanity on a global basis. So this is a wonderful day. It's an historic day. It's great to be here. Congratulations to all. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but absolutely not least, it's my pleasure to introduce and welcome Congressman William Keating.
Thank you, Bill, Mr. Mayor, Secretary Connelly, Seth, my partners in government, Chris Markey, Paul Schmidt, the councilors that are here. This is truly a partnership. But if I can, I'd like to take the liberty of moving phonetically instead of with the correct spelling of the word Tonix. Because I don't know if you travel, I imagine that people travel here all the time, but if you go somewhere in the country and you want a soda somewhere and you say, "Can I have a tonic?" They either won't know what you're talking about, or they'll say, "You must be from Massachusetts." And I think if you go around the country and say, "I'm in the biotech industry," they will say, "Oh, you must be from Massachusetts." Because we have great pride being the leaders, unquestionable leaders in the country in the biotech industry. And this is another example of that. Now, if you look at the definition of tonic, spelled not the way the company spell, you'll see that it's an elixir. It's good for your health. It makes you feel better. And that's the mission here that shouldn't be overlooked, because the important work that you're doing here, Seth, is brought home in this terrible pandemic. The research and hopefully the manufacturing you're going to do on the COVID vaccines, the work you're going to do in research on what we're learning as we go along, some of the results of this terrible virus in terms of long COVID research, the work that you're doing on nervous systems and fibromyalgia, the work you're going to be doing on other items like that are so important, PTSD, migraines, depression, the work you're going to do in the oncological front, as well as the work you're going to do as we continue to get more sophisticated with organ transplants in terms of making sure that can be done without rejection. Those are just some of the things, I think, Seth, that you have on your plate going forward. And so it's important to remember and celebrate the advancement here in that kind of research and development, in that kind of manufacture. And manufacture, the R&D side goes hand in hand with Massachusetts as well, and all its fine institutions. But the manufacturing side is so important now too, because as a member of the Armed Services Committee, this pandemic has really brought home to us the fact that we have to do more to strengthen our domestic production chain. And this is another example of us doing that. So important to our national security as well as our health. So as we look at all these things, we celebrate. But we also look at what Mr. Helt referenced in terms of this is a ribbon cutting and we're going to go forward with the architecture, design, construction here and how important that is. But there's another kind of infrastructure we'll be celebrating here. And it's so important about this site, this location, this industry. And that's the workforce. And I can say from many fronts, you really made a smart decision, Seth, locating here on many fronts. You look at the proximity to the employee training and education that's here. You've got University of Massachusetts, which has as one of its missions the ability to work with industry, and if there's enough jobs on the other end, to actually create a curriculum surrounding that particular industry and those jobs, 70 jobs that will be here in this 45,000 square foot facility. And if you look at the levels of that education and training, it's here as well. Secretary mentioned high school, but there's also Bristol Community College. There's, along with UMass Dartmouth, all here to create that great production chain of employees that are so important. And the other thing that's important are the employees themselves. Now, I have a biotech company in another portion of my district, and I took time on several occasions to go through there and actually have private conversations one-on-one with many of the people that work there. And I hope to have the opportunity to do that here someday as well. EMD Serrano is located outside of the Boston grid, and the employees that work there at every level of that company just emphasize to me how their quality of life has benefited from this. They weren't dealing with trying to go through the massive transportation grid to get into Boston and back. They were able to settle in this region, have families in this region, and conduct as normal a life as they could ever hope for. And it not only created great loyalty with those employees, but they couldn't tell me how much it helped their life. They were close enough to see their kids' sports and be part of that. They were close enough if there was a household emergency to be there. And so for their quality of life, this is a tremendous place to work and to have a livelihood. So as we go forward, this is a win-win situation. And it's not just the structure that's here physically, it's your mission, it's the importance to our region and to people's health, it's the importance to our national security, and importantly, it's important to the people's lives that will be working here. So this is definitely, along with what we've just celebrated a short time ago, which I'm optimistic they'll be breaking ground in this year, and the offshore wind. And this will be the beginning of more investments in this area because you made a smart choice. They will look at what you've done here, and you'll see more of what we're going to have in this whole region as we create this cluster. So another example of build it, and they will come right here in southeastern Massachusetts, and one that'll really bring success in all the levels I just spoke of. So congratulations, and let's celebrate today.
I'd like to thank all of our speakers. That was it was incredible, and I feel humbled to be part of this team after listening to all that. And I can, speaking on behalf of the project execution team, I can assure you that just motivates us more. And I will back up the Congressman's statement. For those of you who don't know, I spent 20 years in Cambridge, and I spent a large percentage of my adult life sitting in traffic on the Mass Turnpike. So this is fantastic being down here. I know a lot of people in industry. They're all watching this very closely. This region's a void. You know, we're the first here, and hopefully many more to come after it, and it puts us in a great opportunity to recruit resources. Everyone who's sick of going to Cambridge, this is a nice place to be. So I'd like to thank everyone, and I think now we get to do the fun part and take some really fun pictures and enjoy the rest of the afternoon. So thank you.